What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and for today I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of people making when it comes to Captain America in his new Infinity War uniform. And this is a mistake that I made myself personally, and I see a lot of people, even some of the best Captain Americas in the world, making this mistake even now. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about how you need to build your Captain America in this new uniform, and I'll show you guys what I mean by taking a look at some of the best Captain America in the game. So as you can see right here, this guy has a rank 1 Captain America, and as you can see, he has Power of Angry Hulk on Captain America, and 99.9% of the cases, this is one of the best, if not the best ISO set you could potentially give to a character. This is an amazing build, truly freaking spectacular, and as you can see, he has a CTP of destruction. This is a beast of a Captain America, can one-shot virtually anything in the game. However, what you guys may not know is when it comes to Captain America, you should ideally not be using an attack ISO set, because even if you have a 40% attack buff, 99% of the time, as soon as you start your fights, you're going to be immediately negating that. And that person with the #1 Captain America in the world, he may actually know this, but he's only using that ISO set simply to get the stat buffs. He wants the all attack, the critical rate, the ignore defense, and the critical damage, and he may actually not be using it for the all attack buff. So I wanted to let you guys know that some of you guys who are rolling for these attack ISO sets for Captain America, you may actually want to reconsider if you're actually rolling for the attack ISO set simply to get that activation of 20% increase to all attack. Because as soon as you start your fight with Captain America, what you're gonna do is actually immediately override that 20% with this right here, because they share an icon, and since this is giving him 25% increase to all attack, immediately as soon as your fight starts and this procs, you immediately override it. And as you can see right here, since you can keep this thing up all the time, you virtually have no need for an all attack ISO set on this guy, because you're never going to truly get that full attack buff even if you have a 40% attack buff on Captain America thanks to this ISO set. Immediately, unless you're using your Captain America and paying very close attention to when the ISO set is actually activated to ensure that you don't use the 5th skill, which, to be honest with you guys, using a character without using their 5th skill for 20 seconds is really hard to do, even someone like Captain America. And this 5th skill is actually an iframe, a buff, and a really good part of his damage as well. So I find it really hard to use Captain America for a full 20 seconds without using his 5th skill. It takes away some of his survivability and some of his damage as well. And since as of right now, even if your ISO set is currently giving you 40% increase to all attack and you activate Captain America's 5th skill that only gives him 25, he will immediately just override that, which I think is absolutely stupid. You should ideally not be using an attack ISO set on him, because you're losing a whole lot of resources. For me personally, I'm going to be re-rolling this to a HP shield. Ideally, I want to re-roll it to give him, I believe, drastic density is the one that I'm going to go for, simply because this one is actually going to give him as much all attack as I could possibly get, and it will give me some max HP, some critical damage, and some ignore defense. So the only thing I'll be missing is the critical rate or attack speed, and that way I'll actually have an HP shield that actually activates that I can benefit from, versus an all attack buff that I'm just gonna override every single time. And even if, let's say, you don't ever use Captain America's 5th skill, which I think is damn near impossible to do, because like I said, it's not gonna feel as smooth to play him. You cannot tell me that you're not going to use the tier 3 skill. And the tier 3 skill will actually do the exact same thing. It will override your ISO set every single time. And as you can see, it gives him a 50% all attack buff. And this is what actually really pisses me off, because a lot of times when I actually immediately finish using this skill right here, the heroic charge, I'll just instinctively use the 5th skill, not realizing that what's gonna happen is this 25% all attack buff is going to immediately override the 50% all attack buff from the tier 3 skill. And I think this is absolutely stupid. It makes no sense why a lower all attack buff should be overriding a higher attack buff. Even if they share an icon, the game should be structured in a way where if I have a higher attack buff that is currently activated and I'm activating another attack buff, the one that is lower should immediately just get canceled out, and I should just get the ignore defense, and this one, the 50% all attack buff, should just continue to be running. It makes no sense. I'm not saying give me additional seconds. I'm just saying don't override a higher attack buff with a lower one, and there's really nothing you can do about it except just not use Captain America's 5th skill, which, like I said, is really hard to do. And some of you guys may not believe me, so we'll actually take him into a Shadowland stage right here, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean really quickly. We'll go up against just any floor, it doesn't matter. I just want to show you guys that yes, his 5th skill will override his ISO set, and his tier 3 skill will not only override any attack ISO set, which is a good thing because the max you can get from your ISO set is 40%, tier 3 skill is giving you 50%, and his 5th skill will actually override his tier 3 skill. So when you use Captain America, instead of having your attack buffs all activate simultaneously and just stacking on top of each other to make this guy incredibly powerful, well, while he is indeed incredibly powerful already, to make him even more powerful, it could all just be stacking. That's not gonna happen. It's just gonna override each other one after the other, and it's actually really annoying, especially when you're overriding 50% with a 25% all attack buff. But let's do this. Alright guys, so what we're gonna do here, first thing is actually play around a little bit to get the ISO set to trigger. And still hasn't. Okay, there we go. The ISO set is activated. As you guys can see at the top right here, 20% increase to all attack. That is the ISO set bonus. Okay, now we're gonna use the Heroic Fury, and you guys will see what happens. So Heroic Fury, and as you guys can see right there, we no longer have the 20% increase to all attack. We have a 25% increase thanks to the Heroic Fury. Now, in most cases, this is not a problem. 25% is more than 20, so obviously you're getting more attack. But let's, for argument's sake, say this was a 40% increase to all attack. This is actually the same thing that would have happened here. The 25% would have overridden the 40%, and I don't think that is actually a good idea. This needs to be changed, and the reason why this is happening is because the Heroic Fury actually uses the exact same icon that the ISO set bonus uses, and that's why there's multiple other characters in the game that give themselves massive attack buffs, but you never hear about people having issues with this. Characters like Doctor Strange, for example, who gives himself a massive 80% increase to all attack. You never hear about anything like this happening when his ISO set actually activates. It doesn't override that 80% bonus. That's because he has a different icon, and there's multiple different characters in the game with different icons for their abilities, and that's the reason why this doesn't happen to them. But there's other characters in the game, which I'll show you guys in a few seconds, that have this issue simply because of the icon. And besides just changing the icon, there's also another way that Netmarble could actually make sure that the ISO set doesn't interfere with the bonus that you get from the skills, and that's actually by changing the wording, making it so that it doesn't give him a 25% increase to all attack, but instead it gives him a 25% increase to physical attack, because we know Captain America is a physical based character, and if that was the case, this would not be happening. And we know that to be true for characters like Shang-Chi, because when he was first released, this was the exact same issue he had, and Netmarble revisited the character and changed the wording and made it so it was a physical attack buff that he was getting, and this no longer happens to Shang-Chi. So they could definitely do that here for Captain America. However, the same issue would then be brought up when you have his 5th skill overriding his tier 3 skill, because that's what we're gonna test right now. As you guys can see, we have the Heroic Fury activated. We're gonna keep pushing and try to get the tier 3 skill to activate. Okay, so now let's charge it, get the 50% all attack buff. As you guys can see right here, we have a 50% increase to all attack. Now watch what's going to happen to this 50% while I use the Heroic Fury. As you guys can see right here, we are back immediately down to 25%. Tell me why, logically, a 25% increase to all attack should be overriding a 50%. If anything, this should have just given him the ignore defense and the damage from the skill and nothing else. Just let the 50% play out, and the next time that Captain America activates his 5th skill, Then if the 50% is not up, then go ahead and give them the 25%. Does that make sense to you guys? Because in my head, it makes sense to me, right? So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. There's a lot of overriding going on when you use Captain America and characters like him, simply because of the character icon and the wording on the skills. So for those of you guys who are building these characters and giving them offensive ISO set, that is happening, and it's happening pretty often. And a couple examples of this is actually Quicksilver with his third skill right here. As you guys can see, 30% increase to all attack. Generally, that's good, and that's actually very, very good for Quicksilver, but that will override your attack ISO set. For me, that's not a big deal because, as you can see, this is only giving me 22%, so I don't worry too much about it. As you guys can see right here, the same thing will happen for the Wasp, and as you can see right here, the same thing will actually happen for Winter Soldier. This is a 10%. How mad would you guys be if you have a fully awakened ISO set giving you 40% and then you just make the mistake saying, oh, I just want a little bit more damage, and boom, you trigger this? That ISO set proc completely gone, and you're left with a 10% increase to all attack, okay? So I think that this needs to be addressed, and I think you guys need to be aware of this. Characters like, as you can see right here, Inferno, all they need to do is just change the wording or change the icon, and it no longer interferes with the ISO set, because that doesn't happen for my Inferno because he gives him 24% increase to energy attack and not 24% increase to all attack. And that's all they really need to do, either change the wording or change the icon. The same thing is true. Inferno has the exact same thing, 24% increase to energy attack. And as you guys can see right here, Shang-Chi, who once upon a time had the same issue where it was 24% increase to all attack, and that was actually overriding his ISO set. Now, by them simply changing it to 24% increase to physical attack, we no longer have this issue with Shang-Chi. So I wanted to leave you guys with this. For those of you guys who are rolling like crazy for ISO set for Captain America, to make your Captain America as much of a beast as you can, you may want to think twice when it comes to an offensive ISO set for this guy. Still definitely one of the best ISO set choices, simply because of the bonuses that you're getting, the all attack, the critical rate, the critical damage, the ignore defense. Those are amazing stats, but you can get similar stats to those on a freaking HP shield ISO set, and then you actually make this guy even more of a beast by making him damn near unkillable. You can also go for something like I Am Also Groot. It's completely up to you guys if you want more recovery, but I think an HP shield is a better choice because sometimes you will get your heal at the start of the fight when it comes to stuff like this, and that heal will be completely wasted because you didn't use any of your HP yet. Whereas for an HP shield, you get the HP shield over your actual HP, so you'll always get the full 32%. But that is all I have for this one, guys. Like always, thank you so much for watching. Hope it was informative, and I'll see you guys in the next one. For me, I'm going to be rolling for drastic density enhancement for my Captain America, unless Netmarble actually figures out what the hell they want to do, because all this overriding is actually really annoying. And it's really annoying when I mess up, like extremely annoying when I mess up and use the tier 3 skill and then use the 5th skill right after. And for those of you guys who wasn't aware of this, let me know how you feel now that you know this. And for those of you guys who were aware of it, how do you counter this? How do you go around not using this to override your freaking tier 3 skill? For me, what I genuinely try to do is, as soon as I get out of it, I'll trigger the 1, and then I'll freaking use the 4, the 3, and then I'll use the 2, and then use the 5 right after. But I think that's still not good enough. I really want him to go back, change the wording, change the icons, do something to make this work. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.